at 11. All right, good morning, everybody. Let's get started. Is this on, guys? We're good? Okay. I just wanted to welcome everybody, and run through a couple of things. First off, most important, if anybody needs to use the restroom, they are down this hallway. So at the end, you'll see the men's room, but if you go around the corner, there is a ladies' room as well. And second, I wanted to draw attention to our gentlemen in the back. You guys can wave. They are going to be recording this session, so just wanted to draw your attention to that. And the recording will be available on the site that you went to register. And on the back of your name tags is that site. So if you forgot it by chance, you can keep a hold of these, and within the week we will be uploading that video. And you guys can go there, and if there's anything that you missed or you want to share with somebody else, you can send them to this site as well. And then the very last thing, if all of you could please silence your cell phones, just out of respect for everybody speaking. So if you want to even check the volume on your laptops and everything, just to make sure that those are down, so when you're receiving emails that we're not getting distracted. All right, and I would like to introduce ABRL's director, Kai Vanderhorst.
Hi. Thank you very much. Oh my God. Thank you very much for coming this morning. So my name is Kai Vanderhorst. I've been the ABRL director for about a year and a half right now. And we launched ABRL in October of 2017. And what I'm going to do this morning is to give you a little bit of an overview of who we are, what we do, where we engage, and what kind of the idea was around building out this organization. ABRL stands for Applied Biological and Biosecurity Research Lab. We were originally under Huck Institute of Life Sciences. As of this year, we are a freestanding organization under the Office of Vice President of Research, which is actually very exciting because from our perspective, we really operate as a university-wide integrator, and that's why we're here today and reaching out to you and actually building this, hoping to build partnerships with you and other colleagues from across the university. All right, so a little bit of background. I am probably the only at least titled full research professor here at the university without a PhD. And it's like, how does that happen? Holy crap. So I'm not coming out of academia, it's only a rank. So if you see the title research professor, I'm not a research professor. I am a director, I've run very large programs in life sciences research for the US government. I come out of life sciences not-for-profit organizations, but have also worked for other large companies. And here at the table, I have my colleagues who are going to be talking very shortly, all which have a lot of experience in government. So Elaine Somera, my deputy, Flavia out of program management. And we really brought on board because we have a different perspective on engaging on the global health security side and the technology innovation side, because we come out of that environment and have a different view of how do you get programs set up, how do you build systems approaches to mission requirements that the government has. So I do understand science. I'm not a scientist. And so if you tell me something about synthetic biology and CRISPR-Cas9, yeah, I can follow you a little bit. But then I kind of fall off the cliff and I say, can you please translate this to me? But I can translate it well enough so I can actually identify, and my colleagues here as well, where does this fit with where the government is looking for something. And this is why we're here today. You've gotten these folders, you've gotten kind of insights of where the government is going, and we have those insights on how does the fit work for you, how we can translate what you are interested into where the government sees mission requirements. And so that's kind of why we're here today. A little bit about this. So I started to work with Penn State in 2014. That's where we ran into each other. My organization, my team, was actually responsible for the US government's Ebola outbreak response in Sierra Leone and Guinea, where we deployed and operated diagnostic laboratories to provide advanced services to those countries to provide rapid care and diagnostics as part of that outbreak. Penn State was heavily engaged in Guinea, and there was a realization there that pandemic disease spread is really something that is a national security concern. At the same time, and this was kind of fortuitous, the Applied Research Laboratory on the national security side, Penn State's Applied Research Laboratory, was kind of looked at in terms of, yeah, you're doing a lot of Navy stuff, that's all good and great, but we really need to think about how we build yet another UARC, University Affiliated Research Center, biocapabilities, so that we can in the future really build out the capacity for the US to rapidly respond to emerging threats such as pandemic threats on the bio side. So that's when we got together and ideated the gestation of this ABRL, Applied Biological Research Lab, which is sponsored, well, is kind of sponsored is the wrong way. Yeah, sponsored, so to say, not financially, but from the intent sponsored from the Huck Institute of Life Sciences and the ABRL. So with that said, we have two sides of the house. We have a national security side of the house, and we have a global health security side of the house. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that works. So we are really there, and this was the primary focus, to look at emerging infectious disease, whether it's man-made or naturally occurring. Now that has a lot of different iterations. We focus a lot of bio, we focus a lot on this from the development of early detection devices. We look at it from the disease surveillance perspective. We look at it from the intervention perspective. Technology is a core enabling factor in this, and innovation is a core enabling factor in this. And I'm going to talk in a few minutes on how that works and how we view that. Because frankly, our ability to detect emerging threats, whether they're man-made or naturally occurring, is very, very limited. And getting to the point of care, getting to the point of engagement is a huge challenge. And this is where DARPA comes in, this is where DITRA comes in. And if I overwhelm you with acronym soup, we can translate those for you. But we are very good in acronym soup. So I can speak entire sentences in acronym soup. It's like if you talk science to me, I can do this reversely to you. And it's like, what the hell is he talking about? I'm not going to do that. I'm trying not to do this to you. So this is my leadership team, our leadership team. We have on the top Pete Hudson, who is now on sabbatical, former director of Huck Institute of Life Sciences. Paul Sullivan, of course, Elaine, my deputy, then Vivek Kapoor and Alan Sonstaby. So it's a parity of the board, my executive team, both on the ARL and the Huck side. So this is just a quick kind of overview of our organizational structure. Again, I'm reporting directly to the Office of Vice President of Research. And then I've been taken into the woodshed with Nick Jones once in a while, which is a very unpleasant thing. That's our provost. But so far I've survived it, which is good. And then we have, of course, under here, several contract mechanisms and program management functions that support those. And of course, the UARC that allows us to do rapid contracting as appropriate. All right, so who do we work with in the government? And here we really talk acronym lists. Acronym soup, right? So, and I'm going to translate some of this. So on the global health security side, we work with DITRA-CBEP, which is a cooperative biological engagement program, mostly on high pathogen research and high pathogen capacity building globally. The Department of State Biological Engagement Program, CDC, of course, you understand what that is. The BARDA, Biological Advanced Research Development Agencies, DHS, NIAID, National Institute for Emerging Allergies and Infectious Disease, of course, and World Bank and USAID. On the national security side, it's really primarily two big organizations. That's the ChemBio Defense Program, which surrounds, it's a Joint Program Executive Office for Chemical Biological Defense. They roughly have like $1.5 billion annually for advanced and applied programs, but they also work in the 6.2 space. They shouldn't, but they still do, and that's emerging science. On the other side of the Chem Biodefense program is DTRA, the Defense Threat Reduction Agency. That's the 6.1 to 6.3, so that's very early basic research to applied research. And they roughly have, what are the budget numbers, like $400 million a year?
300.
I don't know what the numbers are, so they know better because they both just came out of DTRA. They can probably talk around me multiple times without even blinking when it comes to numbers, so that's good. Then we have various sub-organizations there. I'm not going to go through this. DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Program Agency, BARDA, also from the defense side. We work with IARPA, Intelligence Advanced Research Program Agency, and then OGAs, meaning those agencies that shall not be named. So that's okay. We don't need to go into this, but so we have really a wide spread on where we focus. Elaine is leading our national security portfolio. I support her on this, as we have worked with these guys. I have worked with these guys at least for 2.5 decades. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but it certainly dates me. She looks much fresher, but she has more experience than any of us. Anyways. All right, so I'm really not, well, actually I am, a little bit. So global health security, national security is really an overlay. So when you look at the One Health security perspective, One Health meaning infectious disease on the human side, the veterinary side, the environmental side, it all kind of links up with emerging disease, right? Our focus is really there on reducing, detecting, preventing, and reducing the burden of disease and responding to outbreaks. When you look at it from the national security perspective, there's a great concern about the next generation or the next immersion of Ebola or some other deadly virus or disease that could reach our borders. We are currently working actually on a program in Central and South America where we have, because of various factors, whether that's climate change, whether that's migration, and other aspects, we have high pathogen, a significant number of high pathogens showing up that we've never seen before and that move up north and eventually will show up on our doorstep. So that's a national security perspective. Then at the same time, I'm trying to figure out, okay, is this man-made or is this really naturally occurring? So from that perspective, have bad actors actually created something that we are really concerned about? So health security and national security really overlay very nicely, and that's why we have this joint focus. All right, where do we focus on in terms of our translational mission? Most organizations really avoid the valley of death. And the valley of death is the valley where you have tech innovation, and then, okay, what do you do with it? It's like, oops, that was great, right? So, no further development, and it disappears in the woodwork. We'll focus on how do we translate an innovation approach from basic research to applied to the operational setting based on requirements that are set by the government. And that's really important. So tech innovation is nice, but tech innovation without a purpose and without a draw doesn't really get you very far. And so, but we have this integrated view on how this works. And I'm actually going to give you an example in a minute. So universities usually do basic research to advanced tech development, and then it ends, or they have somewhere a transition partner that spins out a company, right? Federal labs, they are actually going all the way to demonstration, and industry really doesn't like basic research. They start with applied, they want to have something in hand, and then move it forward. All right, so let's take a look at this. So we are currently, and I'm having my fingers crossed, with Dr. Shoshana Priya, we are pursuing the establishment of an International Institute for Biosensing. And we should be hearing actually any day right now to get the initial award on this. But the focus here is how do you develop advanced biosensing devices and make them relevant to some kind of mission sets? So in this case, this is a One Health detection challenge, right? So I have environmental pathogens, I have water, foodborne, I have veterinary, I have human. Okay, how do I address this? How do I find fit-for-purpose detectors and sensors, looking at all of these different signals I can generate to come up with something? And then there's a question also of how do I use my information to do something that is actually mapped to the requirement of what I'm looking for. It's nice to have a big box, but if I can take the big box into the field, and if every test costs me $2,000, well, that may not be the right thing for certain type of environments. However, if I can get a microchip sensor that costs me 50 cents and I can put it into a food processing plant and it gives me signals, then that's a totally different thing. I can do something transformational. So it's a question of how do I approach it? How do I think about the requirements? How do I make it fit for purpose? So lighter, in this case, we're looking at lighter, more accurate, lightweight, rapid sensors are needed at the point of care and intervention. Usually, that's great. You know, you can do, say, if I can 3 out of 5, that's awesome, right? So we're shooting really for the 3 out of 5 or the 4 out of 5. Unrealistic to think more. So in this case, we're looking at sensors and detector innovation. How do we miniaturize it? How do we use advanced materials? How do we use your expertise to get us there? Your thought processes. And then how do we bring this into the point of need? So we have currently a very large program that we're about to launch with the government of India and the Defense Threat Reduction Agency to build a Indian anthrax surveillance detection network. So everything in there from advanced detection of emerging pathogenic threat, disease surveillance, risk mapping, prediction, transmission dynamic modeling. So there's a lot of science in there. And that expertise is really a systemic approach to figuring out how do we actually build out the system. Novel detectors and sensors, in this case, are absolutely critical, and bringing those for demonstration purpose in fielding environments like that is key. We have a lot of access globally. We are operating in Central and South America, and we are operating in East and West Africa, we are operating in East Asia, all in environments where you can actually really challenge innovation and test them out. So I'm not going to go into this. Accurate risk communication is key, of course, to inform communities. Preparedness, oh, this is cool. This is really cool. So this is a BSL-3+ sitting in Mali responsible to respond to outbreaks, right? For high pathogens. Well, that's beautiful truck. Jess and I were there last October. Very impressive. 24 tons of truck sitting somewhere in the middle of the desert in Mali. Was it Mali or Burkina? No, it was Burkina Faso. Just realize that if the rainy season comes, there are no roads that can hold a 24-ton truck. So you can't respond to an outbreak with this monster. I mean, here in the United States, it would say, yeah, awesome, give it to me. But they're not sustainable, not doable. So how do you bring response capacity that is miniaturized, that is fit for purpose in the field? So looking at technology innovation is very key for us. And then also, this is actually part of the Ebola outbreak response in Sierra Leone. How do you bring technologies into the field? How do you bring the sensors closer to the point of need, whether that's an outbreak response or whether it's for the military, right? How do you create sensors that can help the warfighter to detect, have I been exposed? Is there something in the air that I should proactively don my suits or whatever the hell it is, something like that. But bringing it closer to the point of need is absolutely critical. So lightweight, high performance, high output, high battery life, and low footprint. These are the kinds of things that, when you look at the mission requirements, are really going to be critical to address. Again, we are operating globally. I just mentioned that the Americas, Europe, Asia, India, East, West Africa, and here are some examples of where we work, but I'm not going to go through those right now. So this was my summary. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Otherwise, I'm just going to hand it over to Elaine.